Couch, better known as the Affluenza teen, is out of jail. Walking out of the Tarrant County Jail, the 20-year-old stayed silent as he walked to a waiting Tesla car.
A Texas woman was sentenced on Wednesday to 5 years in prison for voting illegally in the 2016 election.
Time for another of my infuriating comparisons that one day I truly hope I no longer have to do, but that would mean relying on Texas not being Texas or America not being America. So let's take a trip to Tarrant County. First up is Ethan Couch, a now 20-year-old who drove drunk as a teenager and killed 4 people. Prosecutors in that 2013 case sought a 20-year jail sentence, but Couch received no prison time after a psychologist testified that Couch was a victim of affluenza, a product of wealthy, privileged parents who never set limits for him. So as a result, he was sentenced to 10 years probation. During that time, he violated the terms of his very generous probation by drinking and then fleeing to Mexico before being brought back and sentenced to 2 years in prison. He was released just yesterday. Next up is Crystal Mason, a black woman also from Tarrant County, on probation for a previous fraud conviction for which she served 3 years in jail. Like Ethan though, she violated the terms of her probation, not by drinking or fleeing the country after being given probation for killing someone, but for voting in the 2016 election, not knowing that her voting rights had not been restored. And as a result, she was sentenced to 5 more years in prison. Okay, so let's break this one down just so I'm getting the full picture here. You can drive drunk, kill 4 people, injuring several others, and then get out of having to serve any jail time because you're a privileged rich kid. And then violate those terms, flee the country, and then when you're caught and forcibly brought back, you only have to serve 2 years in prison. Whereas if you are black and violate terms of probation after committing a non-violent crime of fraud where no one is physically injured, not to mention killed, a crime you already served 3 years for, you get 5 years in jail? So tell me, if Crystal Mason had been a victim of too much privilege, would she be granted any leniency? I mean, she didn't kill anyone or anything, so I guess it makes sense that her punishment is more severe, right? Now, when you look at these comparisons, can you see why people of color start to think the system doesn't work in their favor? Can you see why it's frustrating when rich, entitled white Americans are consistently painted in sympathetic light when they commit heinous crimes and then are pardoned by the very same justice system that comes down with fire and fury on people of color? Why is it that in one example a judge looks upon with a lens of compassion and grants him leniency, for him to only abuse it and still obtain a slap on the wrist? Or while a judge in the same state sentences a woman to an additional 5 years away from her 2 children because she failed to understand the limitations of her parole? Yeah, she should have known, or at least should have been informed by her parole officer that she wasn't allowed to vote. But I don't see her fleeing to Mexico. I see a woman owning up to her mistakes and looking for a way to engage in the civic duty of voting, only to be sucked back into the system that's hell-bent on meting out maximum punishment against certain groups based on their ethnicity and social status, while bending over backwards to make excuses and provide clemency for other favored classes of people. And if the excuse is, well, we all make mistakes, then fine, we all do. But not all of us are judged in a sympathetic light and offered repeated opportunities to right those wrongs. But I know I would be, simply because the color of my skin and the privilege that goes with it. And I understand that that isn't okay. It's not okay that privilege is reserved for a select group of people. Justice is supposed to be blind, and that means colorblind as well. Follow me on Instagram at Francis M. Maxwell, and on Twitter also at Francis M. Maxwell. Like and share this video. Continue to resist.